Companies Act, a special presentation by The Firm.
The Companies Act 2013 is to governance what voters hope Mr. Modi will be to politics. Transformational. Whether it's the Harshad Mehta scam of the 90s or the Satyam fraud of the last decade, they've all left a deep imprint on the design of this new law, prompting India to legislate provisions such as director rotation, auditor rotation, minority rights protection, much ahead of the rest of the world. But can good governance be a top-down effort? Well, that's what we're about to find out today. Hello and welcome to Companies Act, as we focus on Chapter 11, Appointment and Qualifications of Directors, and Chapter 12, Meetings of the Board and its Powers. To navigate us through these new waters, I have with me Y.M. Devsthali, the Chairman and Managing Director of L&T Finance Holdings, well-known independent director Naushir Mirza, Cyril Shroff, Managing Partner Amarchand Mangaldas, and Bharat Vasani, Chief General Counsel, Tata Group. Gentlemen, to all four of you, a warm welcome to this series. The Companies Act 2013 mandates a minimum 3 directors for a public company, 2 for a private company and 1 for an OPC, and maximum 15 directors, beyond which a company needs approval via a special resolution. Government approval is no longer required. A woman director on board is a must for all listed companies, and public unlisted companies with a paid up share capital of 100 crore rupees or more, or a turnover of 300 crores or more. Compliance time for all of this? 1 year starting April 1st, 2014. That's also the time available for all listed companies to ensure that at least 1/3 of their boards are independent, and for all public companies with a paid up share capital of 10 crore rupees or more, or a turnover of 100 crores or more, or outstanding debt of 50 crores or more, to appoint at least 2 independent directors on board. The 2013 Act for the first time recognizes and defines the concept of an independent director. A managing director, whole-time director or nominee director cannot be an independent director. An independent director should be a person of integrity, relevant expertise and experience. The Companies Act 2013 lays down several provisions for an independent director to meet in order to be able to prove his independence. Mr. Vasani, do you notice any big material changes in the definition?
Yes, and I tell you, I can give the background since I was also part of the Dr. Irani committee.
Sure.
The big debate going on was that should we allow the financial institution nominees, which are FI nominees, which are should be regarded as independent. Clause 49 of the SEBI listing agreement allowed FI nominees to be regarded as independent director. Dr. Irani at one stage, I will quit the committee as a chairman of the independent committee if they be regarded as independent. They are representing the views of only one stakeholder, that is for institutions appointing them. So after much debate, it was decided that the FI nominees which are regarded currently as independent directors will not be. So that's a very major change.
Sure.
And many of the Indian boards have a FI nominees as independent directors, so they will have to induct traditional people as independent directors.
So to be fair, all nominee directors have been disincluded from the definition of independent director.
Marika, you know, the result of this definition is that you have an absurd situation where if an independent director in the parent is nominated to the board of a major subsidiary, he is not regarded as independent because he has been nominated by the parent.
Oh, so he becomes a nominee director.
He becomes a nominee. So you have an absurd situation where the man is considered independent at the parent, but not in its 100% owned subsidiary.
There is one more point here.
Yes, sir.
It's not necessary that they are nominated by the parent. It so happens that the independent director is on the board of the parent company as well as the subsidiary company. There is no nomination here. For example, in one of our boards, I can take a name, so I don't want to take name.
Okay, X.
There is X person, we appointed him on the subsidiary company first, because we thought that his contribution will be very valuable for that particular business which that subsidiary runs. Later on, he was appointed on the parent board. Now, it's a situation today that he is on the boards of both the companies, but because of this particular provision, he ceases to be independent on the subsidiary company where he was appointed first. And he is an independent director on both the companies. Will he be construed as a nominee of the parent company under such circumstances?
I think we should look a little deeper. It's not just the mode of appointment, but I think it's really a conflict of interest principle that is the real
between the parent and the subsidiary.
Yeah, so if the implication is that when you're really representing the interests of another body on the board of another, you are not then truly acting independent of all conflict, but you will always have a bias in favor of your so-called parent entity.
So you're saying in fact the Companies Act has done the right thing by saying that if you are on the board of the subsidiary at the behest of the parent, then you are a nominee director and you cannot be independent.
That is the effect of what has happened. But I think I would sort of step back a little bit and question as to whether there was any necessity of defining independent directors separately at all or not. Because all directors are separate, all directors are fiduciaries. They are all expected to act free of conflict and in the best interest of the company. To give this additional label and responsibility,
but you have to define independence, right? You have to make sure that people knew clearly how you would become an independent director or where you would be disqualified as an independent director.
From a Companies Act perspective, I would question whether this was necessary at all or not, and that could have been left to things like clause 49 or the listing agreement. From a public market perspective,
essentially a company law concept, not so much of a securities law concept. A second thing, I want to point out that clause 49 of SEBI requires, listing agreement requires that for material subsidiaries you need to have an independent director on the board of a holding company to be on the board of subsidiary.
What is the net effect of what this new provision in the company law does?
It would lead to, if you need an independent director in a subsidiary company, you would not only have one person who is consuming one position, you will have two independent more to make up for the...
There is another implication of this. Consider a situation where you have a joint venture, where the powers between the two partners are quite clearly defined. Now you suddenly introduce two new individuals who are not aligned to either side. And until now there's been a balance. Now suddenly you have an issue on the agenda where depending on which side these two people move, the balance of power
really to,
so they become extremely crucial in joint ventures.
So what you're in effect saying is that these, in fact, the whole concept of independent directors should never have been extended to anything which was unlisted.
I have a slightly different view on this. In fact, this was also debated in the Irani committee. One of the point was that the unlisted companies also have a lot of public funds and public resources, and in effect, effectively the promoter directors or the directors of two partners in case of joint ventures, they represent the true interest. And I have been on the boards of several joint venture companies. I find that the nominees, partner A nominated 3 directors, partner B nominating 3 directors. They look at only their parental interests. I have never seen they looking independently at companies' interests. So if there are 2 directors, and they are not saying you have 1/3 of the board, but 2 directors. So I am in support of the argument where there is substantial public money involved, even if it's unlisted company.
Remember, now we have to issue consolidated financial statements. The board of the parent is answerable for a consolidated performance. They are no longer responsible for that performance because big chunks of that performance could well have been determined by a group of individuals who are not listening to them.
Okay, but how do you resolve this situation? My point is, if you have a situation that Mr. Devsali is currently facing, what do you do?
I don't know. It's a little, he's saying he was never nominated.
No, he was appointed on the subsidiary company first.
Okay.
Part of the problem is that
this is the new normal.
Mentally free, so this is the new normal.
Companies Act, a special presentation by The Firm.